Well, good morning and thank you for joining me. As our days get colder, we're thinking about all those beautiful plants that are in our garden now that we want to bring in. So I want to show you today two methods to overwinter your geraniums. Depending on what kind of conditions you have in your basement to overwinter, that meaning temperature, light and that sort of thing. So yesterday I went and potted up one of my favorite geraniums. This is called Violet, but it doesn't really look violet. It looks more like a beautiful orangey pink. So I potted this up, and then I'm going to show you what I did to it immediately. I cut this back so that this is going to go on my windowsill until about February. In fact, second or third week, first or second week in February is a good time to do it. You'll notice I've cut this right back to bare bones, and before long, by the time I bring this up in February, this is what the plant is going to look like. So now I'll show you what I do. First of all, I make sure that all my tools are clean. I clean them with alcohol just to make sure that we're not transferring any disease. So we're going to first of all get rid of all our blooms. And then I'm going to start cutting this back as radically as the one that I showed you earlier. And we'll get as many cuttings here as we can. Just taking these at random, cutting them right back to just a few stalks remaining in the pot. Okay, looking good. So now what we want to do is start to cut these so that we can root them in vermiculite. This is a method that I have used for years. It's tried and true. It always gives me great results. I might have the odd cutting that doesn't take, and that's because it's either too large or too fleshy or too old or whatever. But out of maybe 20 cuttings, I'll get 15 easily. So let me show you what I do. First of all, I take off most of the leaves. I don't want a lot of plant that the plant has to support. And then I get my little X-Acto knife, and I'm going to cut right before a leaf, right below a leaf node. So a node, here's your plant, here's a branch coming out, here's a node. I've taken that leaf off, but that's where I'm going to cut, right below a leaf node. So we'll do 2 or 3 of these just to give you an idea. You'll see the size of cutting that I generally like to have. It's probably about 3 to 4 inches long. I'm going to cut this one right about there. And I'm going to take a little bit more of the leaf off this as well. Too much leaf gives you a problem. So I'm not going to do the whole batch. I'm just going to give you a general idea of how to prepare this sort of thing. That's actually pretty good. So about 3 to 4 inches long, cut below the leaf node. Now another important step is letting this end callus over. So it needs about 4 or 5 hours. Just leave it on your work table and then come back when that amount of time has transpired. And then you'll notice that it's just sort of looking a little bit withered, I guess you would say, and that's called scabbing. So now I'm ready to put this into vermiculite. So I have prepared a 6-pack with vermiculite. And vermiculite is just horticultural vermiculite that you buy in any store that carries garden supplies. And a little trick here, I reuse my vermiculite. I'm a very frugal person. So after I finish with this, have it totally dry, I put it back in the bag and I reuse it again. It saves me a lot of money. This one's a little bit too long. I'm going to recut that one. I think I I need a new X-Acto blade. So now I'm getting ready to put this into vermiculite. It's been scabbed over, all set to go. So I'm going to moisten it a little bit, put it in my rooting compound, and I'm going to make a hole in my vermiculite so that I don't lose all that hormone powder that I've put on the base of it. So I'm going to put it down in, firm it around the stem, wet it, dip it in, pencil to make an opening, pot it up. Good to go. I'm going to, of course, fill this all up. I'm going to have many cuttings, as many as my plant will provide for me. So now I'm going to put this on my windowsill in the basement. This faces west. I get a fair bit of sun, but of course the days are going to get shorter. It's going to be very cool up there. My basement itself is probably about 10 to 12 to 14 degrees. But that windowsill is going to be very, very cool. But geraniums love that. So I'm going to place this in my windowsill. I'm going to check it at least once a week to make sure that I have at least half an inch of water in my container. I want to keep that vermiculite moist throughout the entire rooting system, rooting period, I should say. So now we're looking at about February, the first week or two of February. I'm going to do a little tug test to see if there's any resistance. And the resistance will indicate that there's a root ball there. So when I tug on this and I'm getting a whole bunch of resistance, I know that it's ready to be potted up. So then I use a little pot to start with. I'll probably pot it a little bit bigger later on, but maybe not. Geraniums like to be kind of root bound. Another little trick, I always put a little piece of a coffee filter in the bottom of all of my pots. It prevents the soil from gushing through the bottom. It will break down, of course, but it's a great little helper when you're first potting things up, that you don't get a horrid mess. So all ready to pot up. Good. I'm going to put this back in the windowsill for just maybe a week or two until it sort of gets used to living in a pot instead of living in the vermiculite. Then I'm going to bring it up to one of my sunny windows. I have some south-facing windows, and leave it there until I'm ready to plant it outside. And then an important part before I actually put it in the garden is hardening it off, which means that I'll bring out my tray of plants, put them in the sunshine for a very short period of time, perhaps and maximum an hour the first day, bring them back in. The next day I might let them have an hour and a half or 2 hours until they're totally hardened off. And then I know that they're ready to go into the garden. So that method I hope you have luck with. I have used that method, as I mentioned, many, many times, and it's very successful. So let me talk to you about the second method. And this is if you have a cooler basement or maybe a cold cellar. Not many people have that anymore, but older homes do. So if that's the sort of conditions that you have, we have a very easy method that we're going to do. So this involves a cardboard box. What we're going to do is bring the plant in, root and all. We're going to take off any leaves that are yellow and withered. We're going to take off the blooms, and we're going to shake off nearly all the dirt. As much of the dirt we're going to shake off as we possibly can. And if the root ball with the soil in it, some soil in it, is very, very moist, best to leave it to dry for a couple of days. Put it someplace in your laundry room or down in the basement or even the garage where it will dry a bit, because you don't want it to be too wet where it's going to cause mold and mildew. So really simple thing to do. The size of the box is going to depend on how many plants you have. And of course the plants are going to be bigger. I'm just showing you this as because I've trimmed this off, but normally it would be a good size plant like the one before I did all my trimming. And you're just going to lay this in the box, and a good idea is to lay one with the leaves up and the next one with the leaves the other way. It means you can get more in your box. So once you've got this filled up with all your cuttings, all you do is close your lid, leaving some areas where you can have some air get in. If it has the hole, the hand holes in the end, even better. It makes for more air circulation. The important thing here is to check your cuttings, check your plants every month. It's a good idea to write on your calendar, check geraniums. So you go down and have a look at them. If there's any signs of mildew, mold or rot, of course, cut that area out. That's a problem you want to get rid of. If they're looking wizened, then you can spritz them very lightly, but just enough so that you get some moisture in that plant again. Put it back in your box, close the flaps again, and repeat the process every single month until you're ready to pot them up, just like we did, which will be in first to second week of February. Same process then, pot them up, bring them into the sun, get them healthy and robust, harden them off, and then you're ready to plant them in your garden. So this is a method I have not used personally, but Jen and Jordan are going to put a link where you can check this information. It's called susansinthegarden.com, and it's a very easy to follow video. So I wish you luck. Geraniums are expensive. They're delightful. I love them. And if you can overwinter your own, you'll feel very gratified. You'll save a whole bunch of money, and you'll have loads and loads of flowers for next year. So thank you for watching. Have a great day.